I have a pretty cool idea. I don't know if it's been done before, but I'm gonna give it a shot today. One of the things that I really like to do with art is to take things that are digital or art that is typically presented in a digital format and make it analog. So I've done that before with like pixelated images. So here's like a picture of, well, you can't see that at all. So you can see this is just a bunch of squares of a newspaper, but if we zoom out, you'll see it's actually a picture of Charlie Chaplin or Hitler with a bowler cap on, you be the judge. Stuff like that, and I think that can give you an idea of the type of art that I like to make. I was working in a grocery store a few years back, and I was using one of those label gun things to put the dates on things, and I was thinking, hey, I bet I could use this to make art. Or better yet, maybe I could use an actual label maker to make art. Label makers, if you're not familiar, spit out a sticky piece of tape, and in the process, you can emboss any one of those characters onto it. The question becomes, what kind of art can you make out of this? And I immediately thought of a time-honored tradition of the internet, ASCII art. A-S-C-I-I. In short, this is art that is made with characters that are found on a keyboard. So I'll get more into that in a bit. ASCII art, and by extension ANSI art, is a thriving medium in and of itself, and there are many websites out there that collect and categorize all of this art. This is very much a proof of concept, so we're gonna go with a piece of artwork that already exists in a digital format. In fact, I'm gonna take it a step further. I'm gonna take a piece of art that existed in the real world, was converted to a digital format, and now I'm gonna convert it back into analog, tangible, touch it, it's in front of you art. Oh, but first, real quick, if you find yourself enjoying the video, I would really appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up button. Lets me know how I'm doing and it helps get the video out to more people. Thanks a bunch. So I'm just gonna go up here to asciiart.eu and I'm gonna pull up the design I'm gonna emulate. And we just gotta find our, oh yeah, Normand Villeux, French. I like it, I like it. What I'm gonna do is just do my best to keep track of every row as I label make it out. And as I eliminate rows of text, I'm just gonna go in here and change their color to like, I don't know, purple. Hopefully that'll keep me relatively organized and I'll be able to crank this thing out. I was really fascinated to learn more about ASCII art in preparation for this project. It's actually a lot older than I realized. Pretty much as soon as movable type printing presses were invented, folks were making art out of text. I'd definitely recommend a deeper dive if you're interested, and I'll have some resources in the description. For this first step, I'm not peeling the backing off, I'm just getting a feel for how the label maker performs, and I'm roughly masking taping the strips to a scrap piece of 18 by 24 masonite, which I estimated to be a good size for this piece. And that was lesson 1 for this technique. Unlike on a computer, I didn't have control over the size of the letters or the spaces in between the letters, so everything about the rest of the piece had to be scaled accordingly. This was complicated by the fact that the label maker would sometimes malfunction and do multiple impressions overlapping the previous letter, which would kind of mess up a whole row, but I had a fix for that later. Lesson number 2 was that the label maker provided me with fewer characters than the digital piece utilized. I was lucky in that it was only a handful of symbols, so I was able to kind of improvise. And thankfully this wasn't very difficult, and since ASCII art is just about using a character to occupy a certain physical space, it was simply a matter of substituting characters at my disposal that accomplished the same thing. So for example, I only had capital letters to work with, so instead of using lowercase d's and b's, I used capital J's and L's, stuff like that. The only place I kinda cheated was where the design called for less than or greater than symbols, and for that I turned capital A's on their sides. Lesson number 3 was I underestimated how much label tape I would need. Time to run to the store and get some more. All right, back to work. Thankfully, from here on out, I was able to crank out the rest of the image without any further complications other than a very sore forearm. But hey, this isn't the first art technique that's required some stretching. Get it? Some art humor. Okay. Lesson number 5 came by way of making my occasionally imperfect label lines accurately convey the original image. In my opinion, the whole point of making digital art physical is to incorporate human imperfection into something that was originally kind of rigid and sterile. So it was important for me to keep my imperfections within, reason. To do this, as I removed the label backing and stuck it down to its final mounting board, I decided to make an effort to get Miss Lisa's face as lined up as possible. The edges were never going to be perfect, but Mona Lisa needs her smile, Then I restuck all of those strips because I did it crooked the first time, and I used rubber cement to get more adhesion where I needed it. Then I trimmed the edges to size and popped it in a frame, and I was done. This piece was a lot of fun to make, and I definitely want to try it again, maybe with an original design. I'd love to hear any ideas you guys might have in that regard, or any thoughts on how this design turned out. But for now, I'm happy to have a Da Vinci by way of some French guy with a computer, by way of some YouTuber with a label maker, hanging on the wall. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you guys next time.